o'clock. It is 2:52, like I just said. So I'm doing an early recap because I have to leave. Take a look at disclosure. You guys know the drill. All right, my name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. Welcome to today's recap and look ahead. So we did open up above 611. All right, we were there pre-market and failed to have traction. I think some people were looking for some names to go from green to red. Some people were looking to take some profits, and some people were looking for some continuation. So what happened? If you look really close, not a whole lot. We just kind of didn't have enough power to break above this 611, and we were definitely extended from the 8-day, and the 8-day is moving up. So not the end of the world, except for if you overtraded and if you chased a few things and you cost yourself some money. I did a little bit of that. Anyway, what the Qs do, the Qs also, if you look where the Qs are, it's not the end of the world. There was no traction. No traction. You're allowed to have no traction and digestion in an upper area, especially when the 8-day is all the way down here. The thing is, it just feels like it's getting harder to find things like you could sit in that are, at least in my real wheelhouse of my go-to list. Listen, I have a go-to list, and I definitely move names up and down it, but my main focus usually is like the semis and the Mag 7 and some China names, and the China names feel like they're extended, and obviously Baidu got hit today, so those options didn't work. We'll see if it's over emotional. BABA is really hard to buy now. And then Mag 7, nothing's really so special. Let's go, if you go real through, Microsoft, I did not add. Everyone this morning, oh, Microsoft's ready to go. Thank God I didn't add. I have some options just in case, and it's trapped. Not much to do with Microsoft. Google, haven't touched in weeks. This looks like it's ready to break. So there, I like to point out some small wins, right? This looks like it's about to break, and here's your gap, and we'll see how that goes. So at least we're not in these things, and I'm not adding to it. I'm not just chopping myself up here. Looks like it's going lower. If you want to be a short, I guess you could be a short. It's up to you. But again, the worst thing is you get stopped out of a long, and then one of your favorite names goes up and you're caught shorted. So I'd rather just avoid. Same with Amazon. Amazon broke 227. A lot of people are like, when are we buying Amazon? When are we buying Amazon? I'm like, well, it's still in the doghouse, and it's giving you no real reason. Just because it's not going down for a day doesn't mean it's going to go. And I guess some of you guys might have made some money short it. Now it's the 50-day. So how exciting is this market at least for me maybe when I understand that right now I'm not trading. I'm doing the recap, but thank you. This is I'm doing the recap in the alpha team, so everybody's doing their thing. If you look right now, there's 323 people in the alpha team talking about their positions, what they're doing, and trying to lead in the right direction, because it's hard to find that direction, at least for me, where you can sink your teeth in. We haven't found that bottom in some of those Mag 7s, and it hasn't given you a way to trade around it. And some of the other things start to lose, some trust, right? Everyone's been like, oh, why aren't you getting back in Meta today? We buying it. I'm like, well, you just had your first down day after the 20-something up days, right? There was showing some clues this morning when the futures were up 20 or whatever it was up for the first time. Meta was down, so that could have given you at least some clues to reduce your risk if you've been following it or if you've been trailing it. And now it's below the 8-day and pretty bearish candle, so I would wait to see if we get down to the 21-day. Michael did a great job. He's like, you want to get rid of Netflix and power plays? We did. This is just at the 8-day, but if Netflix and Amazon and Meta were moving together, I wouldn't be in a rush here either. Like, I would think, maybe there's more to the downside here. It doesn't mean to be shorted. It just means, hey, just be careful. It's been very hard in these names. So this broke this low, which is a sell signal, right? Break below a prior low, get out of the way. This one at least was higher, and then gave you a way to get out of it versus trappy. The way Meta was a little trappy. And now what's this low here? This is 1027. So it's almost like all these things are just little trades with not getting caught. At some point there'll be big trades. But at this point, it's hard to tell when you have the same thing happened with Mister. Mister was pretty strong, but IBIT was pretty weak, so it was hard for Mister to hold up. But we'll get to that. Apple put a little bit of a doji here. I'm trying to stay with it. Everyone's trying to get me out of this name, but I bought a lot of it here, and I managed my size. I sold most, bought some. I'm actually flat on this, and it's holding, in the 8 days catching up, and I want to stay engaged. Sometimes you have to pay to be engaged and lose a little bit of money, otherwise you lose track of it. So we'll see how this goes. If it can hold above here and go inside for a little bit. Got to believe Tesla's. I did a pretty decent job being out of the way here. We caught a little bit of a 2-day bounce, and I didn't get a false sense of security saying, "Oh, Tesla's back." We didn't buy it this morning. Some guys shorted it. If you shorted it, okay, congratulations. I didn't. But now it looks like, hey, a little bit of an inside range, and maybe there'll be, maybe there'll be a trade here, or breaks the inside range to the downside, which would be the trend from here. So we'll see. We'll see how it acts. We'll see how it behaves. So on the flip side, oh yeah, so someone's asked me what about Rivian. So Rivian looks pretty good. It has earnings coming up. Fibonacci, his grandson, said he likes it into earnings. Some of my friends on the institutional side said they like it into earnings. Maybe too many people like it. I don't know. That's why I bought some options just to have to play along. It's acting pretty well here, So we'll see how that goes. Earnings are until February 20th, so have a day or two. Some guys are saying AFRM is continuing. All right, if you're long from here, just continue to trim and trail. What's UPST doing? I guess you could, again, how active are you? Here's your gap pivot. It's holding in here. Gave you a small little red dog reversal sell here, but that was after a big move, but it's acting pretty well. I have to say APP was kind of tough. APP, at least it opened up, so you could have reduced a little bit. You have your gap pivot, but looked strong. So if you're looking for follow through this morning, you got a little bit, and then it just got hit for 20 bucks. But it's still hanging in there, so this is a decent setup. Can't be upset about that. AXON. Now that's a nice move. Look at this. If you're in this using, being a long versus a gap pivot, or even this one, you did really well. Even got a red dog reversal into the 21-day here, and then it went. I haven't been trading this, but there are a lot of guys talking about it, so I figured I'd list it. Technically, all you could do is obey the technicals, and that looks pretty damn good. I will say I did not do well with these lunar type names and stuff. First thing I got stopped out of was ASTS down here. Looked like it was ready to break, and I was fed up and pissed, and I get out of the way. Here is where you should have been a buyer, 22-ish. Went to 32.97, pulled in, held, and seemed like it was ready to go. So I just bought some options out a few weeks, so I'm not worried about it. A lot of talk how it's going to be breaking above 39.08. A lot of talk how it's going to go to 50, and I got sucked in and it cost me money today. I apologize. I do. I think it still has a void to fill. I still think it's okay. I chased it like a novice today. I didn't chase ACHR, but I did come in long it, and I sold most, and now it's, kind of doesn't look as good as it did. If you're still long, okay, 1051 is right here. Something's getting hit right now. What's getting hit right now? Anyway, still okay. And then you look at this lunar. I was really mad at myself for a second. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I don't have this thing. Got stopped out on this day, never went back to it, and at least I didn't chase this one. Very loose and wide and sloppy. Anyway, so Fib's buying the ASTS here. Okay, makes some sense. I bought some earlier. I have to say Mr. held in there pretty well. If you just look at it, like this. I lost a little bit in the shares, but I bought more options just so I don't have to like nickel and dime it, because when it goes, you would think it can go. It just hasn't. So why do I think this is a little bit better? Because, if you look, this did not break below this area, did it? No. And then you look at IBIT, it's trying to break below this area. So for the first time in a while, you're starting to see Mr. act better than Bitcoin, and usually when it does it, it usually means that it's ready to go whenever Bitcoin says, okay, it's time. So right now we'll see, because Bitcoin's not saying that yet. So I went out and I bought some Mr. Calls. Just so, if the stock goes great, like I was in the stock, I stayed in all day. I tried. And I got stopped out when it made a new low. But so what I do is I bought some options where I won't, for April 17th, they're really far out. And I bought some a little bit closer right here into that weakness. I'm actually doing okay in the options, but I'm out of the stock for now. It's fine. And then, I think there's a lot of talk about GME again. I made some good money in GME a week ago. How, they're divesting, they have a lot of money, and they're going to start going on some kind of, I guess, where they're stock friendly with management, meaning lots of news, lots of stuff. So I said, hey, I don't want to be back and forth. I'm just going to go out to April and buy some long-term options. The only thing I would care about missing is like a move like this, which doesn't happen often, but GameStop's done that before. So if that's the case, I don't feel like being in the stock. I don't feel like watching it. But if it happens to have a move that's huge and trades above 36, I want to be there. So I bought some GME. It did some GME options. Someone just asked me, did ASTS do a red dog reversal sell? It did. Got above 32.97 and failed, and now it feels like it can get down to here. If it gets down to here, I'm going to wait now. It didn't look like that was going to happen. That's why. So when you buy options, someone's like, Red Dog, you bought options. You can just sit in them. Like, if I'm buying options without the stock, that means I'm playing for a move at another point, but the stock hasn't told me. So I usually stay there, let it be in the options and wait. And then if I have the stock with the options, then it kind of looks as if the thesis and the theme gets better. By the way, it's only 3:03. It's not 4 o'clock. Anyway, what does PLTR look like? Still, it's still extending, but you just got to be careful. A lot of these things, it's hard for them to continue to keep defying gravity and going, but it has. Doesn't mean it's an easy short. Just means that you just got to be careful with your size. And this one's been trending awesome. But again, once you start losing part of a group like Reddit, I told you guys needs time, stay away. Broke up here, the earnings weren't special, and looks like it's on its way down towards here, which could be a good setup if it trades down there, and you could buy it, in the first 30 minutes for a trade. So we'll see. But again, Reddit, Dash, and Palantir all move together. So far, Reddit's correcting. PLTR still looks good, and believe it or not, Dash, wow, I got out of my Dash today. Let it get. There was some news that Uber was coming after them, with price controls and unfair antitrust stuff, and meanwhile it still acts well. But technically, I feel like, it can let the 8-day catch up, which is right here. So I'm, going to be a little bit more careful, considering we just had a great options play, just had a great stock play. Went as high as what, 215 and a quarter. I want to let this catch up a little bit. Let it prove that it's going to stay higher. Again, you don't have to be in a rush. You could be, someone said a good word to me this weekend. You could be aggressively patient, meaning patient with aggression, ready to go when the time is right. That was when this thing took out 201. That was your time to be, long sum, aggressive. Now you have to be patient again. My friend told me his 15-year-old is buying Palantir. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, what else? Baidu, I don't know. That's what started my day. All in all, you can't be so upset. Held the, this was what? This was 95. The low here was 96. It held above it. Some people think the reason why it's down is because the CEO of Baidu wasn't at the conference with Chi. Maybe he was away. Maybe it wasn't. Some think it was earnings. Earnings, according to a lot of the institutional guys, were just fine. So I went out and I bought some 100s for not this Friday, the following Friday, just in case today everyone lose sight of it and then all of a sudden starts to get better again. We'll see what happens. Baba, not so great. I'm kidding. It's been crazy, but at this point, are you really going to be taking it into earnings? I guess it could be a pain trade, but for me, I got out of it on Friday and I'm fine with it. One of my best trades in the last 2 weeks. So I'm not going to go back to it just because it was so great. I do think earnings are going to be really good, and I'd be upset if it's up a whole ton, but it gave me, that pre-earnings move, kind of like what happened with Baba before. Look where the 8-day is now. When is earnings? February 20th pre-market, so not tomorrow. Where is it on the weekly? Still room on the weekly. Where can it get to if it really delivers? I guess it can get to like 148. It took out this 117. We were playing it from down here. This was a great trade. Baidu not so great. Happens, right? PDD was a great trade too. It took that off. So PDD and Baba were fantastic and still have more room. And Baidu was tricky today. I lost on the options, but I'm not losing sight of it. What's up? PSUS Bill Ackman to announce a potential transaction. Well, this is his leftover SPAC. PSUS. Oh, anyway. PS versus Tether? No. Anyway, let's move on. Mister's down. Well, all flows. What do I think of NVIDIA? At 308, I think NVIDIA had a big move. Bit of a topping tail. It's a little extended. So, fill this gap. This is now gone. Goodbye gap. Goodbye this. Goodbye that. You know, this you could, you know, make it a little bit higher. This is what now? This is 148.97. $148.97. This high here is what? 143.44. It's amazing though, like when we get these great entries and we really have to protect them. Like we had a great entry when we reclaimed 116, and then I remember I bought a lot, I think, on this day when it was like the futures were down and the video was up. I'm like, that's relative strength. We've been seeing relative weakness during this entire move lower, and now we're seeing relative strength, and then boom. Now it's just nowhere. Now it's like, okay, yeah, you had a small peak here, held a 21-day. I mean, the 8-day. Here's your 8-day. So I guess maybe give a move down to 135-ish, which would be viable, but who knows if it even gets there. Seems like the names that are working, they're not giving you a way in, and the ones you think might work don't. Like look at this AT&T. Really? But again, if you use strategies, let's look at this big gap up, and if you bought versus here or waited for a higher low, you're just sitting there enjoying the gains. You know, you don't have to work. Anyway, it's to me, it's a very tricky tape. It's never easy, but when the Mag 7 and even like the same, look at Avago today. You know, it was looking good, and then boom, that has to happen. Some people are like, hey, Redler, what about ARM? It's hanging. Do you want to be, do you feel like you have to be long some things? I don't know. Hood's in the gap. You know, it's kind of coming off of it. So if you were long versus 61.20, you had to stop out today. And then, or you say now you're long versus 59.90. When you have sometimes a big move like this, it's like an exhaustion gap, meaning, people that have been long since like 25 got a little exhausted as they've made too much money. As it hit a high of what? 65.51. Anyway. Grab. Actually, Grab was my biggest winner today, but now look at the size of this huge doji. I can just gap and go and hold, and that could be a great trade. I don't know, whatever. It's still fine. This low here is 510. Maybe he needs to have a few inside days now ahead of earnings. I have less than I had overnight, but I traded around it pretty well. I did not add on strength once. Tell you some of the other ones that I've been sitting in. I might get stopped out of soon. I've been sitting in this ARBE and broke this level. I probably should have got stopped out. I have a stop at the low of the day at 248. This one, which has been just an accumulate also, just still in this range. Are you going to actively trade these things, or are you going to accumulate them for better action? We're usually good at knowing when there's better action, so we can always go back to it when we get a huge day one and it continues to the upside and you're not stuck. These guys need to accumulate, big time shares before that. We don't. I probably should be out of this. And then the CYBN also. Still in this range. I said I'd give it to 870. This was that, that RFK type play for wellness, kind of like MSOS, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, value names like JP Morgan. Yeah, JP Morgan. Look at this trend at JP Morgan. It's funny though how value tech's just not doing that well. I guess A&T is considered value tech. Yeah, this looks good. What's C doing? Wow. Sometimes I'm just a better chief strategic officer than myself. This was the number one bank I listed in December. Yeah. What do you say? QS. Morgan picked up 4 million shares, so they'll be upgrading shortly. What's QS, a biter? Oh, looks pretty good so far. How do you know they bought 4 million shares, Fib? Still sloppy. It's up here. Guess public. Cool. What are the SPYs doing now? Real quickly at 313. Back up 15 cents. SPY still holding the range. I will say, I sold some SPY calls. That helped. For like 85 cents, 90 cents, and I covered for 40 cents. A way to collect some income. Now you can, I guess, make this a little bit looser here. What's this low? 608.38. It's your new point of reference for the week. Because it happened today. This is during the week. I'll save this so I have it for tomorrow morning because I'm not going to be here on the close. Did I miss this? Still acts okay. Q still look just fine. Just a day in the life. What do they say? There's 260 trading days, and every day it's not the end of the world, or it can't be all sunshines and rainbows. And my day kind of started this way. Instead of Baidu being up $7, it was down 5, and then everything else just kind of added up. 540. It's only a Tuesday. Not a big deal. It's only a big deal if you make it a big deal. Or if you overtrade or you do too much. There's 250 trading days? Okay, I'm going to write that down so at least I could say the right stat. 250. How many are left, Wolfpack? There you go, Zach. There you go, Blang. That's why Google's getting hit. Can't trust their AI. All right, guys. I'm going to put some stops in. I don't have a lot going on. I bought some options, a little bit more for the longer term. I bought some Mr. options. I went out. I bought some GME options, but went out. It doesn't look like it's igniting yet. If I buy the stock with that, then they look better. Bought some ASTS options. Need some time. So I bought some options for a few weeks out that I had a little FOMO with, and now, as you can see, I don't have much on as far as names and stuff. So I'm going to be picking and choosing spots just like the rest of you guys. Oh, thanks, Zach. I am. Phoenix is doing great. She's learning, doing really well. As far as today, Chase has a 4 o'clock game. He's got 2 games left, and then next Wednesday starts the state tournament. So figure it's home. I'll catch this one. Not a lot to do anyway right here. Oh, okay. I appreciate you guys. Remember, 3:17. This isn't 4 o'clock.